Success is not just this magical thing bestowed upon a few lucky people in this world. In fact, all of us have the ability to succeed within us. But what is the action that's necessary in order to create even the start or the potential to be successful? Well, myself, as well as a lot of other entrepreneurs, athletes, or even people who have just been successful with losing weight or starting a fitness program in their own lives, have discovered this one key. And without it, there's really no other way to move forward. So let's take a deeper look at what can help you move in that direction. We are currently in an era of life where arguably you could do anything you wanted because of the resources that are available to us. Meaning you can start an entire business with a phone alone. Now, how easy that is and how much work goes behind that is kind of written off when you say that you're starting a business with a phone, but it is doable. Tech has significantly decreased the cost to be able to start wildly successful businesses, as well as the ability to learn a new trade or a skill. All of these things are available to us. Take, for example, the fact that you're watching this video. You're here to try and learn something. Well, often, or in the past, this would have been commoditized to charge you something in order to learn it. But here we are providing free videos for you, and this consumable information can create an amazing track to success for people. But at the same time, it's also very easy to get bogged down in how many decisions there are to make. I'll take my own experiences. When I started trying to learn how to create YouTube videos, I would log into YouTube, of course, and Google how to make YouTube videos. There were so many people out there putting out information. I didn't know who to listen to, and often instead of picking a track or having some kind of information where I felt, yes, that is the track I'm going to take, I would often get lost in watching these videos over and over. And one day I would think that it was the camera equipment that I needed, and the next it was the lighting, and the next it was the audio. Next, it was the scene or the location in which I was filming my videos, and all of these things began to mount and pile on top of my decision making. And at the end of the day, I took less action than I needed to, and that is the fundamental start for all of this video. In fact, the key to success that so many business owners, athletes, or simply people who have wanted to lose weight and take action on their fitness have in common, and the thing that is going to help you move forward and progress towards your goals, whatever those may be, is just starting. Now, just starting seems like the easiest, most throwaway video topic that we could ever talk about, but let's take a deeper dive into why that actually makes sense and what it is about just starting that can be so hard, but also so rewarding. I will give a prime example of my own life. When I was in college, I desperately wanted to be an entrepreneur. I took entrepreneurship classes, I took sales classes, I even tried to start a couple small businesses. But you know what my biggest problem was? It was that I didn't have any real world experience starting a business. Taking entrepreneurship classes, I was learning about what big business looked like. But you know what class I didn't take? Was how to just start the business to begin with. What even the first step was. And so for a long time, I didn't understand how to be an entrepreneur or how to start a business. And so I would pretend like I was starting a business. I would join up with a friend. We decided we were going to start an apparel company. We didn't have a printer. We didn't know where to buy apparel. We just had an idea that we were going to start an apparel company. And guess what? It never got off the ground. And I think you can probably tell why. The problem was, I never actually started. I spent so much time writing business plans and financial projections, all things that I had been taught and learned, but that became overridden with the burden of decision making because there were so many pieces of information coming at me trying to understand what it meant to have a business. But you can't have a business if you never start one. An idea only goes so far when it comes to building a business. And at a certain point, the rubber meets the road. Well, that same decision-making pattern happens because of this massive influx of information that we have in our lives. And I've talked about this in other videos, that overstimulation concept. But because you can learn so many things and because so many people are attempting to teach nowadays, there's going to be a differing opinion or a different set of information around everything that you might want to do. It's easy when you start losing weight to say, I'm going to lose weight, but making the decision as to how Well, that's another step because there are a million books teaching you what way you should eat in order to lose weight. There are a million videos out there and podcasts and people who are going to teach you about habits. And all of those are valuable. Almost all of them will create success. But the one thing that is necessary in order to start moving down that path is starting. Just starting anything, but taking a move and a step in the right direction. And where this becomes real and tangible for you, which is at the end of the day the most important part, is the just take a step. Because by doing that, you are going to send yourself on a course towards something. Now, I'm not saying that that course is right, but you are setting yourself on a course to something. And along that way, you are going to face constant decisions. You're gonna have paths or multiple paths that you have to choose along the way. And you're not always going to get it right. But if you continue down that path, you will eventually end at some semblance of what you were hoping when you started. I like to think of it as this. The process is the most important part versus the outcome. Outcome is completely out of our control. We have no ability to actually determine how other people will respond, what environmental factors we don't have control of. Aside from outcome, what we can focus on and what's actually within our scope of control is our own process, what we do on a day-to-day basis. And so if you liken this, the just starting mentality, you take that and you apply it as a process. Your process is to just take a step now and move forward. And I found that without really acknowledging it, this is a big philosophy that I embody in my everyday life. One of the things that often scares me are big workouts or long, hairy workouts. And they don't scare me as much as they used to. And I used to have this really strong aversion to just big, hairy workouts. I'd have days of uncomfortable feelings behind them. But now, one of my favorite things to do is to just start them. I don't like to sit around and think about them forever because the longer I think about it, the longer I'm not doing it. The second I start, the closer I am to finishing. And that mentality to workouts goes a long ways, and I find that it almost relays into every other part of my life. Sometimes to a detriment. Of course, it doesn't always happen the way that we want. Again, I can't control the outcome. Let me give a really great real-world example of how starting first actually bit me in the butt a little bit, but again, I wouldn't change the way that I did it. I recently built a stock tank pool in my yard. For those of you that don't know, that is taking a galvanized stock tank pool for horses and cows and making that a pool that you can swim in. Well, I loved this idea and we decided to move forward with it. So the first thing that we did is we searched, and it turns out everybody else has had this idea too, and you can't find any of the supplies. So I kind of gave up on the idea. Well, lo and behold, we happened to be making a stop at a nursery a couple weeks back, and sitting in the parking lot was a stock tank, a big round 6-foot stock tank. And without hesitation, I parked the car, got out, went over, and made the purchase. And I purchased it. I couldn't even fit it on my car at that point, but that was my start. And where it bit me in the butt is that all the other supplies that were needed to get that project moving took me weeks to accumulate. But what that proves is that number one, now I have a stock tank pool in my yard. It's beautiful, we love it. I can cool down after a nice hot day of filming here in the garage. However, it was a total process-oriented just start method. If my outcome would have been that later that day I wanted a stock tank pool in my yard, I would have been sorely disappointed. All I knew was that at some point I wanted a stock tank in my yard. I experienced a lot of hiccups along the way, and all I could do was continue to try and take one step at a time. Now you may be thinking to yourself, that's great, Shane, but how does your stock tank apply to my wanting to be more regular with my fitness or losing weight? Well, it's all in the lesson. The objective here is that you get comfortable with the discomfort of just knowing step one and just starting is not going to be a directly linear path, ever. Hands down, it will never happen that way. What you need to be comfortable with is that discomfort piece of knowing I am going to take this step and I'm going to move forward, and I will probably fail, or a step will not work out the way that I intend it to. And that's actually a great thing, because along the way, I will gain the skills or I will gain the knowledge necessary to do it better next time if I have to repeat the process, or I will simply learn about maybe my own behavior or other people and their behaviors so that I can adjust course as I move forward. And so much of this comes down to, as well, understanding that very little is within your control. The only thing in your control are your own actions, and that's why just starting can be such a critical move to help you go forward, is because without you controlling yourself, without controlling your own actions, you are giving up control of almost your entire life, because you're the only one that can take that move. You're the only one that can go in that direction. Again, nobody will ever pick it up for you and carry you across the line. That is up to you, and just starting is the process to get there. So this level of discomfort in living in knowing that you may be doing the wrong thing, but embracing it nonetheless, is what will make you a resilient person. And resilience is truly what breeds success. So if you're looking at successful people who have made it through their weight loss journeys or have succeeded despite things being stacked against them, or just wildly successful entrepreneurs out there, it's all because at one point they started, and that start led them down a path towards which they had to make constant decisions, and they weren't all right. And that ability to make a decision, knowing that it may not be the absolute right decision, but knowing that nonetheless you will learn, good or bad, from each decision, is what builds resilience. It's what makes you comfortable with discomfort. And when you can get comfortable with that discomfort, in that we are intended as human beings to experience this as a part of our daily lives, that we are intended to be able to ride waves of challenge and be able to come out on the other side. That is what truly makes us human. And it's that decision-making factor where I did this, maybe it wasn't the right thing, therefore let's reevaluate, let's learn, and let's do the best that we can on the next iteration of it. That is what starting gets you. And when you get to that point, when you can actually live in that space of, okay, this is not gonna be fun, but I'm gonna take this step anyways, and I'm just gonna start moving in that direction. I'm going to just start by putting more vegetables in my house and reducing the amount of foods that I know aren't good for me as an access point to me. That's just step one. Does it mean you're gonna buy all the right foods the first time around? No. Does it mean that you picked the right nutrition plan for you? No, it doesn't. Because lots of nutrition plans can work for lots of people, and you will inevitably have to try and fail at some to find the one that works for you. And the one that works for you is the one that you stick to, because that means that you took the step and then you continued down the path and you found that you were able to continue to make the right decisions that led to your success. And at the end of the day, success is simply the person who has been willing to stay the course and continue to move forward despite the challenges that have come across on their entire journey. I always love the example of the entrepreneur's journey that everybody thinks an overnight success is. You start here and then you have success somewhere over here. Maybe it's overnight, maybe it's over a week, but the true path is simply this convoluted, backwards, forwards, up and down journey in which you ride emotional highs and lows, and because you face these challenges every bit of the way. Nothing is linear in this life, and the sooner that we can get comfortable with that and take action to move forward through it one way or another, that is the key to your own success. And at the end of the day, what comes from all of this for you is not just your personal success on whatever path you are setting yourself down, but it also means that you become a resilient person. You become somebody that other people can lean on and rely on, because you know what it's like to be uncomfortable and still make the decisions. And those are some of the hardest times in life, when others are unwilling to make the decisions because they know it's going to be hard, and you're still the one who will step up and do it. Whether that's in a fitness environment or in a work environment or personal relationships, sometimes having to make that decision to go forward allows you to stand up and be the person that others can lean on when they might not be able to lean on themselves. And sometimes that's fair and sometimes that's not, similar to the convoluted path that life is. But what it does mean is that you get to become the person who stands as a pillar of resilience. And it's not because you got there overnight, as many people will expect when you eventually are successful. It's because that you just took the step and you just started down the journey. If you got value out of this and you want to make sure that you're around for the next time, hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it. And if you hit that bell, you're going to be the first alerted whenever I come out with a new video. And if you drop into the comments, that means I'm going to be able to get to your comments sooner, liking them and responding. And if you want to go a little bit further on how can you start the steps to actually help your body perhaps and make sure that your body is moving healthy and taking that first step, come join me for this mobility series where I'm going to help you work through 15 minutes to help your body feel refreshed and better going forward.